How are we all feeling after last night then? Disappointed? Let down? Hurt? Angry? Just a few of the emotions I've seen following Scotland's loss to Hungary last night. It's typical. I would say that you can't write it, but you can. You can write it. Anyway, that and a few other things to talk about. And don't worry, we will talk about Celtic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please could you go down below and hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated as we go through this quiet month on the channel. There hasn't been a hell of a lot to talk about, and Scotland have now been eliminated from Euro 2024, which we'll talk about very briefly in a moment. Hopefully that spurs on Celtic to start some business. Maybe, just maybe, I don't know. But nonetheless, it would be appreciated if you hit those buttons. The support has been great, even though there hasn't been a lot to talk about. Shall we try and cover Scotland just a little bit? Since the majority of us watching this are Scottish, including myself, maybe we should talk about it just a smidgen. So Scotland have been eliminated from Euro 2024 following last night's last gasp defeat to Hungary in the third game of Group A. A disappointing exit for Scotland. There was hopes last night that they could maybe do it. They could maybe pull off what seemed to be a bit of a miracle of us progressing from a very tough group. If you remember my group stage predictions, I didn't have much hope at all that we would make it through the group, and last night is a pretty good example as to why. A few people were disappointed at my pessimism and my lack of ambition for this group of players in this tournament. And last night is genuinely the example that was just put out there to back up my pessimism. And I don't mean to be that guy. I don't like being that guy. I wanted Scotland to do well, and I'm disappointed we're out, especially in the fashion that we've headed out. But I just knew with the style of football we play and the tactics that Steve Clarke deployed that we didn't have much of a hope in this group whatsoever. I know people are banging on about, those great results against Spain and Norway, etc. But when you get to these tournaments, it's a different game. It's not the qualifiers anymore, and really disappointing set of 3 games for us. Not much entertainment at all. I was actually lucky enough to miss the humiliation to Germany on match day 1, but watching match days 2 and 3, there was no joy out of watching Scotland, and I think it does emphasise this need for change at the top of the Scottish national team. Listen, I'll give Steve Clarke his flowers. He deserves every bit of credit for what he's done over the past 5 years as Scotland manager. Getting us to Euro 2020, getting us to Euro 2024, pulling off some big results and creating some timeless memories. We'll all remember Serbia, we'll remember the games against Spain and Norway. These are big moments that you take with you as a football fan right to the very end. But we've went to 2 tournaments now, and we have been embarrassing to watch. And maybe not everybody agrees with that. I feel like it's the general sentiment at this point. I feel like most people are saying it, but you can't go to these tournaments and turn up in that fashion and play like that. We're ending this group with some humiliating stats, creating so little chances, having the smallest XG, just generally being a really poor side to tune into. I would maybe argue the poorest side at the tournament. Look at Albania, for example, who don't have any points at the minute, but have been hell of a lot more entertaining to watch than Scotland. And there's no denying that. We have a really talented group of players there. One of the best groups of players Scotland have had in a long, long time. And despite the injury problems that we've went into this tournament with, missing out some big players, especially in the back line, Tierney dropping out in the game against Switzerland, it still doesn't excuse the manner of how we're playing. And I think it is time for that change. I don't know who the answer is. David Moyes being the most shouted candidate right now. But it's time to spruce things up a bit. It's not entertaining, and that's why my levels of ambition were so low, because I just knew that we would turn up to the tournament in this fashion. You're crying out for people who can come on and change a game. He takes James Forrest, and to kind of tie it into Celtic for a moment, he takes James Forrest, who is in a great vein of form right now, over to Germany. He doesn't play a single minute. We don't play wingers. And it's just dire. And it's a real embarrassment for us at this tournament, I think. I don't think there's much pride in the park to take. The only pride is how well the support travelled and how loud they were. And how well they were spoke of throughout every German city, Stuttgart, Munich and Cologne. Apart from that, the national team itself haven't given us much to look back on from this tournament, not many memories at all. So I do think it's time for change. I feel sorry for the likes of James Forrest. Listen, I know McGregor and Ralston went over and played every game, essentially every minute of every game as well, but they weren't good enough. And I think a big part of that, I can see a lot of criticism falling on the back of Callum McGregor, especially for how poor he's been at the tournament. But listen, I think everybody was poor. I don't think we had any standout performers, and I think a large part of that is just how negative Steve Clarke has us playing. We can't see the real Callum McGregor because he's getting told to pass back, pass sideways, and really just every bit of positive play is drained from that group of players. So, yeah, it's time for change. A disappointing tournament for Scotland. I don't mean to be all doom and gloom, but how can you be anything but doom and gloom after last night's exit in the fashion that we went out? You wait till the 80th minute to start actually trying to go for something. At half time at 0-0, we know we need to win the game. Bring on the likes of James Forrest. Bring on your Lawrence Shanklins if you must. And make a good go of it rather than sitting back and trying in the last 10 minutes. And I know for a fact that if we won that game last night in the last 10 minutes, we wouldn't be talking in the same way. But I've not been impressed from anything Scotland had to show in that tournament. And bring back Celtic ASAP, please. That's all I can say now. Yep. Shall we talk about Celtic? To start off the week, I must admit things are still quiet. I'm not entirely sure when the ball will get rolling for Celtic in regards to transfers, but we are now entering the last week of June. This time next week, the global transfer window will open, which means we can do business with other clubs in Europe, and we might start to hear more in terms of progression with negotiations from some of these players we've already been linked with, but maybe some others, the likes of your Peter Vindal Jensens, who's playing at Sparta Prague, for example, Flavic, who's playing in Italy. We might get some more updates and progression on that front once the full window opens, but for now, things are still quiet, which is a disappointing way to start the week, I know, but at least we have a few things to cover in Monday's bulletin. Now, Bjan Miovski is a name that has been linked with Celtic for around about a year now. His name comes up every single transfer window as one of the potential striking options to bolster that department at Celtic Football Club. I know that plenty of you who watch my videos and join in the live streams are very, very keen on signing Bjan Miovski, but there hasn't been anything concrete to link him with the club. There's nothing out there to suggest that Celtic are genuinely interested and genuinely want to sign the player. There has been murmurs that Rodgers has indicated he's a good player and that he would be interested, but there's been nothing to suggest Celtic have ever bidded or went as far as inquiring about the services of Bjan Miovski. Things might change now, though, that he is becoming a wanted man. A lot of clubs around the continent apparently looking at Bjan Miovski, which in doing so has revealed the fee that Aberdeen want for the striker. According to the Courier, Bristol City have pulled out of a potential signing of Bjan Miovski due to the fee that Aberdeen are demanding. And that fee has been revealed as £7 million. The Courier said that Bristol City has pulled out of the race to sign Bjan Miovski because Aberdeen value him closer to £7 million. And due to the number of interested teams in the striker, they don't feel like they will be able to win that race. So this was expanded upon in a few different outlets and publications. Apparently he is being looked at by a number of clubs who are actually willing to meet that figure and pay that figure. Bristol City, not one of those teams. So this is somebody that has had a long-term interest at Bristol. Looks like he could have been going there. Now, it looks as though Bologna in Serie A are the front runners to sign Bjan Miovski. That's what the article is saying. Bologna also, funnily enough, set to lose Joshua Zirkzee to Manchester United if negotiations go well. So they're looking for striker replacements, Bjan Miovski being one of them. They are now the front runners to sign him for a fee that will go upwards of £7 million. A lot of money what Aberdeen are asking for, but for somebody who's scored 44 goals in 95 games for Aberdeen, probably a fee they believe is justified. So nowhere in these reports this morning as it came out that Celtic are ready to go in and try and battle for Bjan Miovski, but we now know what it'll take if Celtic do want to sign him. the North Macedonian is somebody who a lot of fans are keen on, as I've already mentioned, but the question is now, would you like Celtic to spend £7 million? I've never been one of the people on the Miovski bandwagon. I've never, listen, I think he's a good player by all accounts. I'm not saying I would say no to him at Celtic. It's just never been one that I'm like, we need to go and sign him. You know, I've never been quite there. I know a lot of you are, though. Would you pay the $7 million that Aberdeen are wanting? Would you try and battle the interest that Bologna have and other European sides have to, you know, probably up that number to maybe £8-9 million, or would you wait it out and look elsewhere? Would you wait and get Adamida in? Would you go across the continent? I don't think it will ever happen now. I think this might be the final nail in the coffin for all the Bjan Miovski shouts. Once again, try not to be a pessimist here if you're really keen on that, but if he's getting a chance to go elsewhere and play guaranteed first team football, I don't think him coming to Celtic is going to guarantee him that, because we still have Kyogo at the end of the day. We might have Adamida coming in as well, and Celtic aren't going to go and spend £7 million on another striker when they might be paying similarly for Adamida and they already have Kyogo at the club. So I think that this might be the end of the Miovski to Celtic rumours and all the chatter surrounding that, if I was to take a stab in the dark. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. If it was something like £3.5-4 million, maybe there was room for Celtic to do it, but just speaking realistically, I think that might be it. However, talking about strikers that play in the Scottish Premiership, Bjan Miovski isn't the only one in recent times to be linked with the club, because The Athletic have reported that Celtic have interest in Motherwell's Theo Bair, of all people. Not one that I expected to see, but nonetheless, we should probably have a wee look at what they're saying. The Athletic, who are usually quite reliable in their reports, they don't usually publish nonsense, have suggested that Celtic do have interest in Theo Bair, saying that he, alongside Rangers and several German clubs, are maybe looking at the Canadian international. So it's nothing too serious. It's not to say that Celtic are ready to move for Theo Bair, but I think that he must be on a short list somewhere at the club when it comes to bringing in options. Certainly a decent player last season, done well for Motherwell, 15 goals, 6 assists last season. He knows how to find the net. I've seen him play first hand. He is a good player, but Celtic and Rangers apparently both interested. Take of it as you will. We'll see if it goes anywhere, but his name has been floating around over the past 24 hours. So there you have it. As I said, very, very brief updates today. It has been another quiet day in the world of Celtic Football Club. Not a hell of a lot to talk about. And it is what it is, really. Can't force much to happen, but patience is key. July is when the metal will be tested, and we need to hope for some development. So we'll hang tight till next week. I think it's going to be another quiet one, so I'll try and give you content when I can. We'll be back with the live streams and such this week as well. So let's just keep an eye out, and whatever there is, we'll be here to hopefully talk about it. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated, and I'll see you all next time.